Welcome to the Expert Edge. This is the show where we bring on experts in their fields of health and wellness practice, and we hear their stories and we learn what they see working in the field of diabetes reversal and prevention. And I'm happy to introduce today's expert, Linda Tyler. Welcome, Linda.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on. It's great to be here.
So happy that you could make it. Linda Tyler is a cooking instructor, recipe developer, writer, and editor. She teaches plant-based cooking for Portland Community College. She's also the author of the plant-based Anti-Inflammatory cookbook. On her website, graciousvegan.com, she shares plant-based recipes and answers to common questions about plant-based foods, techniques, and cooking. So she's published recipes in numerous publications and has appeared many times on Chef AJ Live and Afternoon Live on Portland's ABC TV station, and is also a volunteer video reviewer for nutritionfacts.org, one of my favorite sites. So Linda, tell me, how did you get started with your interest in health and lifestyle, especially this area of nutrition?
Yeah, so, I became a vegetarian in college, just seemed like the thing to do. And I quickly lost my taste for meat. So I stuck with vegetarianism for a long time. I've always loved to cook. So I learned to cook vegetarian without meat. And then a few decades after that, I started reading about egg farms and dairy farms. And because I was animal welfare motivated at that point, I hadn't really thought about the animals that they aren't killed for food, but they're treated really badly to give us eggs and milk. So that's the point at which I became a vegan. But again, I wasn't really in a vegan community. I didn't read a lot. I was really busy with a full-time job. And then I then went to a conference in 2015, and it was called the Vegetarian Summerfest in Pennsylvania. And I went because there were great speakers on animal rights and animal welfare. But lo and behold, there were an equal amount of speakers, and my roommate happened to also be a health-motivated plant-based eater. I'd barely even heard the term plant-based at that point. And I heard Dr. Greger speak. I heard T. Colin Campbell speak. And I was just blown away by all the evidence about a healthy plant-based diet and how good it is for you. So I had a 7-hour drive back to New Jersey and really took it all in and decided to turn in that direction, not just vegan, but healthy vegan. And so it was around that time that I wanted to start my own website. So I just slowly started putting up recipes that were healthy and plant-based. And then, took it from there. During the pandemic, I started teaching virtually for Portland Community College. They had to move online. So I was very experienced with Zoom, and that was easy for me. And then gradually I, wanted to do a cookbook and wanted it to be something that was valuable to people. And just through all my reading and my work for nutritionfacts.org, I found out that inflammation was related to so many conditions and to obesity and to aging. And I thought, hey, that would be a good topic. We could pull together what the research tells us and put together some really delicious recipes.
I love that. It's such an interesting journey. And it really is so relevant to our listeners today that are dealing with metabolic issues, maybe pre-diabetes or diabetes, metabolic syndrome, any of those, because inflammation underlies each of those conditions. And so today we're going to be focusing in a little bit on this whole topic of inflammation, but I want you to know that that's directly related to the challenges that you're probably facing in your own life. So just know that that's kind of the link is inflammation drives insulin resistance. It does all these things in our body, but Linda, how would you explain inflammation to someone who's maybe never heard of it or doesn't understand what that looks like in our body? And how is it
Yeah.
linked to so many diseases?
Yeah, that's a great set of questions there because it took me a while to kind of figure it all out and then figure out how to lay it out. I have an introductory chapter on what is inflammation and how do things, how does it affect the body and what can we do about it? So essentially, inflammation is the result of your immune system doing its job, sometimes overdoing its job or being triggered to overdo its job. So inflammation, when we get a cut, it swells up a little, it turns red. That's inflammation from the immune system reacting. So we have immune cells positioned all over our body. They're not just in one place, they're all over our body. Most of them are actually lining the digestive tract. And there are also a lot of them on the skin because that's where foreign invaders can come in. So once an immune cell detects a foreign invader or something they think is a foreign invader, it reacts, it releases what are called cytokines or other different kinds of proteins. It's a very complicated chemical reaction, but it releases these signals to recruit more immune cells to the site, also to dilate the nearby blood vessels so they'll be bigger, they'll be more permeable, so fluid and immune cells can get through into the tissue where the problem is. And then they go to work on the bacteria or whatever the foreign invader is. And all of this causes swelling, it causes redness, it causes, in some case, pain if it hits nerve endings. Sometimes it causes collateral damage to tissue because those immune cells are just kind of eating away at things. And so it's when we have a cold and we have a sore throat or we have, stuffiness, that's inflammation. But of course, we're happy that the immune system is fighting off the germ or the virus. Or if we have a cut, we're glad that it's being cleaned out of any bacteria. But that's called acute inflammation when the body says, oh, there's a problem, I'll take care of it, all resolved. But chronic inflammation is a result of the immune cells going after things that don't go away. So one case that's really dangerous is that immune cells don't really like plaque on the coronary arteries. We didn't evolve with a lot of plaque on our arteries. So the immune system is like, hey, what is happening here? I need to take care of that. I need to attack this stuff. And so the immune system starts to attack the plaque. And of course, it brings that same inflammatory result. It swells, blood vessels dilate, there's more fluid. So in addition to your arteries being lined with plaque, they're also swollen and filled with fluid. So it makes that atherosclerosis even worse because it's bringing that inflammation to those arteries. And then, there can be systematic problems with like Lyme disease where it doesn't go, the immune system finds it very hard to get rid of that disease. And so it just stays. There's that chronic inflammation as it tries to fight things like that. There's autoimmune conditions where the immune system gets confused and starts to attack healthy tissue like joint tissue. That's with rheumatoid arthritis. Again, it attacks and we get that same inflammatory result. It's just the result of the immune system attacking. Yeah. One that really surprised me, which I didn't realize, is that fat cells release chemicals that trigger the immune reaction. So fat cells, excess fat cells, they release these pro-inflammatory compounds and the immune system starts to attack, and that causes inflammation. And unless you get that weight off, you have chronic inflammation. It's just inflaming the body wherever there is that excess weight. And as you say, that can lead, or that can exacerbate insulin resistance in the cells. So the other thing that can bring on chronic inflammation is certain dietary habits. There are certain compounds in foods like saturated fats and endotoxins and refined sugars and refined grains that can really cause the immune system to react. And that causes more chronic inflammation as well. So there are a lot of parts of modern life and modern diet that are just very inflammatory, and the immune system just overdoes it. And when it overdoes it, we get that chronic inflammation because that's the result of the immune system doing its job.
I think that makes it really clear, and it reminds me kind of like a house on fire.
Yeah.
And it's, this inflammation is like in our whole body. And then there are certain choices we can make that act like water on the fire, other choices that act like gasoline on the fire. And so we're going to be talking about what some of your water choices or
Yeah.
gasoline choices today in terms of the fire and the inflammation happening in your body. And I think that that's so important for us to really understand, because when we talk about the things that are like water on the fire that help to lower inflammation, maybe you're dealing with blood sugar issues of some sort, and that inflammation then helps your body to deal better with sugars. But you may have other people in your family whose bodies are also on fire, and maybe it's not being demonstrated in the same ways. So what we're talking about today aren't things that are just useful for you dealing with a specific health issue, but it's good for everybody because it helps us to stay healthy if we're not already suffering from some of these diseases. So I think that like sharing this information and practicing it in our homes so our children get good habits around the things we're talking about are going to make a really big difference, not just for you, but for your whole family and anybody else that you choose to share this with. So I'm just so thankful that you're here with us today, Linda, to share this. And I know that a lot of your work has been around foods. Like I love that you have this anti-inflammatory cookbook, which features, there we go. Isn't that beautiful? It's a cookbook with whole food recipes designed to reduce this inflammation. So I would love to know, what are some of these real anti-inflammatory superstars in the food kingdom that you like to include some of in every recipe? Let's talk a little bit about what are the things we can put in our mouth that act like water on the fire.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. So, one big family of anti-inflammatory superstars are fruits and vegetables, grains and beans that are black or dark blue or dark purple or dark red. So if you think about berries, if you think about red apples, of course you eat the peel because that's the red part. Eggplant, dark purple, don't peel it. Even like black beans, kidney beans, black lentils, black rice. I have a recipe with black rice in it. It's a really fun food to cook with. Black quinoa, but many other, purple cauliflower, purple tomatoes, anything you can find that's black, dark blue. I have a recipe for just a daily smoothie a little smoothie I have with frozen blueberries, because that's how I can get my berries every day if I don't have access to fresh berries. And then there are things like celery and red bell peppers that have a particular kind of flavone that it has been shown by research to be anti-inflammatory.
What's the name of that one?
Well, I just have it as foods high in flavones.
There you go.
Yeah, so
are like a whole category, right?
Yeah. So this is one particular kind, but I did not specify which one. But a lot of different herbs like mint and parsley and rosemary, herbs have a lot of antioxidants. So they're in that family. Also citrus too. I have a really fun orange polenta cake in the recipe that's fun for using citrus. And then foods high in omega-3, so flaxseed meal, chia seeds, nuts, foods high in fiber, because of course the microbiome, a healthy microbiome, really shores up the lining of the gut, so we don't have leaky gut. Because when there is leaky gut, some bad chemicals can get into the bloodstream, and the immune system really reacts to that. Green and black tea. So if you're a tea drinker, great. Garlic, turmeric, ginger, if you love dishes with those spices. And then cruciferous vegetables as well. Their glucosinolates help to slow down anti-inflammatory processes. So there's about 6 or 7 categories. And then I list each, the foods in each of those categories that research has shown are particularly anti-inflammatory. But in general, almost 40 studies have shown that eating as much plant-based as you can will be more anti-inflammatory than eating a standard American diet.
Absolutely. And, it doesn't take a lot, like it's not real expensive. It doesn't take a great deal of resources to include these kinds of foods every day, but it does take some planning. And so I love that you have like this whole collection of recipes to make it easy for us to plan how to make sure we're including a good number of anti-inflammatory foods in our everyday meal lineup, our menus. But when we talk about planning and we talk about like maybe thinking about making menus and cooking, is this something that's going to take hours in the kitchen to be able to cook the way you do?
No, it doesn't. Especially if you have things like an Instant Pot, that's the one appliance that I recommend for new students who want to know, how can I make this as quick and easy as possible? But an Instant Pot lets you make really simple soups. You don't have to soak the beans. You just throw the beans in with all these other things and press the buttons, and you're going to have a soup in about 45 minutes. Or if you have an Instant Pot and you want to make steel cut oats, it's the best, easiest way to make steel cut oats. I have a couple recipes, one for chai flavored steel cut oats, another for gingerbread flavored. But if you don't want to, have the hassle of adding those, just make the steel cut oats with the water. And if you want to throw in the flaxseed meal, that's extra credit. So you can also make brown rice really easy in the Instant Pot, or millet, or quinoa, 2 minutes. There's lots of ways you can get those whole grains using something like an Instant Pot. So yeah, all of these are grocery store foods. You can also, like for beans, buy cans of beans, buy no-fat refried beans. And if you take you can make an easy Mexican-inspired tacos or burritos with a baked sweet potato. You can microwave a sweet potato, open a can of black beans, put some salsa on it, use avocado or guacamole instead of cheese. And there you've got a super, super healthy burrito or taco dish. So there are a lot of ways to make plant-based eating easy. And then when you're feeling like, hey, I want to make something special, then you could go to the main dishes chapter of the cookbook and make something. But yeah, there's lots of ways.
That's great. I love those ideas. And I just realized I'm doing my once a month 24-hour fast right now, and we're sitting here talking about food, and you are making me so hungry.
Sorry about that.
No apologies, but I really wasn't thinking about that when we scheduled this time. But I love that we're talking about the fact that this food can be tasty, it can be quick, it's attractive. But what are some of the tips, ideas, and hacks that you like to share to help people make this way of cooking work for them? Because I often have clients that tell me, I don't really like to spend a lot of time in the kitchen. I'm not crazy about cooking. How do I make this quick and easy?
Yeah. So I agree with what you said a couple minutes ago about planning really helps, and I know people feel like when they're first doing it, it's like, this is extra time, or, I don't have time to do this on a Saturday or a Friday. But taking time to make a weekly plan, really makes your life easy. You can, people don't like to waste food, so you can you can look at what's in your fridge, look at a list of things you like. I tell people, just make a list of dishes you like. It's hard to remember everything if it's just in your head, but if you have a list of things you like, even simple dishes, have that list handy somewhere. And then you don't have to make something new every night. Just, I always plan on leftovers, and most of the dishes in the cookbook and a lot of plant-based dishes are freezable. I have a blog post on freezing on my website, graciousvegan.org. If people go there, they can see like tons of things are freezable. So try to cook large batches. And if you don't like to eat things 5 days in a row, freeze half of it and you can have some in a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So there's all sorts of ways to plan for leftovers, to plan for freezing, to use canned foods or frozen vegetables. Some people even buy frozen chopped onions, and so they don't even have to peel and chop onions. It's just onions frozen, so it's healthy. So take advantage of whatever you can take advantage in terms of, semi-homemade. But I do think, think about a soup, make a soup, unless it's 100 degrees for the next week, which I know it has been in some places recently. But you could make a soup and then make a salad, maybe a big salad. You don't have to make a different salad every day, just, make a bag of salad. And then if you want to think of a couple entrees, some easy ones, or have, your pantry full of things that are grab and go. Those are all great ideas for making it work. But like thinking about it and even sketching out a plan and sketching out, and then making your grocery list, it saves trips to the store, it saves money, it saves you from wasting food. There's all sorts of reasons why just taking 15-20 minutes to make a plan makes sense.
I really like that. And I find that I do much better if I have taken time to plan and I don't end up needing to like run out for one ingredient. If I
Yeah.
want to make a particular dish on a certain day. I just moved back to Michigan from California and I find I'm having to restock my pantry. And
Yes.
so I have run into some meals where it's like I have in my head what I want to make and I open my pantry and I'm like, oh yeah, I don't have that item that
Right.
I'm used to stocking. And I'm like putting
Right.
together my order for some bulk health
Right.
foods, whole grains, beans and so on to get my
Right.
pantry restocked because it really is much quicker and simpler to do it that way.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
I think those are really great ideas for people. So Instant Pot is, I love using an Instant Pot too, but I'm curious, when you do brown rice in the Instant Pot, what is your favorite technique for getting fluffy rice? Because so far I'm still using my rice cooker because I haven't figured out a really good method for brown rice in the Instant Pot that doesn't either turn out mushy or not dry enough. I don't know. I have problems, I think, with proportions. So what are your tips?
Yeah. Great question, because it took me a while to get the combination I really like. And I actually have in the cookbook a grains cooking guide that has all the whole grains listed and then has Instant Pot instructions and also stovetop instructions. But to give you my technique on brown rice, for a cup of brown rice, I use a cup and a third of water. And then I just stir those together, and then I shut the lid and I put it on for 22 minutes on just regular pressure cook, or you can use the multigrain section button, but the multigrain button doesn't make that much of a difference for anything under 45 minutes. So I just use the regular pressure cooker button for 22 minutes. And then after it's done with its 22 minutes on high pressure, it dings and I let it sit for about 10 minutes. And then I take off the lid and I fluff it with a fork. And I think you're right that the proportion of water matters a whole lot, because if you have too much, then it feels soggy. If you don't have enough, obviously, you can burn it. And the other thing about the 22 minutes is important because you can also overcook rice, and that's when it sometimes splays, at the ends, and it
Yeah.
gets a little overcooked. In that case, it doesn't freeze well either. But if you cook it just till it's done and the grain is still intact and not sort of split open, it will freeze well as well. So that's my secret. 1 cup of rice, 1 1/3 cups water, and 22 minutes in the Instant Pot, and a 10-minute wait, and then fluff.
I love
So
that. Thank you so much.
I hope it works. Yes.
Do you find that it makes much difference if you're using a long grain versus a medium or a short grain rice in terms of time or water proportions?
No, I don't find that makes a difference. No.
Great.
This
I
works
love
for
that.
all of those.
And I love how it's so good for beans, because I always have had a lot of beans in my plant-based diet. And I used to have like my grandmother's pressure cooker that I inherited, but I was always like, it was inconvenient because I'd be like, oh, I need to do this now, but I need to go do something else while this is cooking. And if I'm not back to turn off the fire or make sure the little, thing isn't still ticking,
The jiggly thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
the little jiggle thing. And so I just love my Instant Pot that I can set and
Oh my
forget it.
gosh. Yes.
It has,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Those pressure
crazy.
cookers with the jiggly thing on top, they kind of went out of fashion after the 70s here, but then around the world, they were still like, let's get this pressure cooker thing working. And then, then people finally figured out, let's make a standalone electric pressure cooker. So yeah, I tell my students, sometimes the timing isn't like that different, but it's hands-free. You just set it, walk away, and you can do something else. You don't have to keep looking at, is it simmering right? So yeah, it's great.
And you talked about doing it for steel cut oats. I find for a lot of my clients, I want them using the intact grains. So I have
Yes.
them do their oat groats in it. And oat groats
Yes.
take a long time to cook. Like if you bake them, it's like a full 2 hours.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
I find I can do it like in an hour in the Instant Pot and have them really nice and
Yeah.
tender, but not mushy
Yeah.
because they don't get mushy. So
No, I agree. They're great for those intact whole grains. Yeah.
yes, awesome. The blender, I
Yes.
think, would be the other like really important appliance to have in the kitchen. But it
Yes.
doesn't even have to be fancy. It can be like your cheapest Walmart blender. It'll do just about everything you need a blender to do.
Agree. And I do lots of small recipes like salad dressings and sauces. I just do in my NutriBullet too. Sometimes those personal smoothie blenders are great too. So yeah, I
That's what
agree
it
with
is.
you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now you have a great free gift for everyone that's watching this video today. And I'm going to put the link for that right in the description for this video. But I'd love for you to tell us, if people click on that link and they get your free gift, what are they getting?
Yeah, so they're going to get a complete list of the anti-inflammatory superstar foods. As you mentioned, these are all grocery store foods you can find in almost any store, but research has shown that they are helpful for lowering chronic inflammation markers in the blood. So I put them in, easy to use categories. They're right there. It's a one pager you can tape up on your refrigerator or on, have on your counter. And so, I tell people a lot of these are good snacks. So you could also just start with snacks, red apples and, celery, red bell peppers, start with the easy, the low hanging fruit, as they say. And then, think about dinners that you like with cruciferous vegetables, or think about side dishes, some broccoli, some cauliflower. Think about the high fiber. How are you going to get your fiber today? So I'm hoping that this is a really helpful gift to have. In my cookbook, in the inflammation chapter, I describe the anti-inflammatory superstars. It takes about 4.5 pages to describe them. So this free gift is all of them on one sheet of paper that you can print out and have at your disposal anytime you want to see it.
I love that, because I can see where that would be super helpful. If like I'm getting ready to make my grocery shopping list and I'm like, okay, which 3 or 4 things on this list that I get last week, let me get a different 3 or 4 this week, and just really kind of mix it up. And over time, be sure I'm getting a variety of these foods, because each one is unique. and
Yes,
has anti-inflammatory agents that will be helpful with whatever plate we add it to. So I just really
exactly.
appreciate you being willing to share that with us, because I think that knowing more about like what are these foods and how can they help us tamp down inflammation, that's going to be so helpful for all of us, no matter what our health challenges are, but especially if we're dealing with metabolic issues. So
Yes.
thank you so much for coming today and sharing
Yes.
this with us, Linda. Do you have anything that you would like to leave as a kind of a last thought, your like words of wisdom? What are some things that you would say, or one thing you would say that you want us to take away from this time we've had together today?
Yeah, I think it would just be that eating well and eating more and more plants and whole foods is just, it's something that you're doing for yourself. You deserve it. Our culture is so, and all the marketing is you deserve a chocolate bar, you deserve some ice cream. Well, actually, you deserve good food and you deserve good health. And unfortunately, our culture has created all these mixed signals. But, thousands and thousands of studies have shown that what you deserve is good whole food, especially plant foods over and over. Those are the healthiest. And for people suffering from metabolic diseases, it's doubly true. So every time you eat whole foods and as you said, share those foods with others as much as possible. It's great for everybody.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much, Linda. It's been great having you here with us today. And I want all of you listening to remember that health is wealth and it comes by choice, not by chance. So thank
Yeah.
you for being here with us today.